How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to episode 2 of Travel Questions. Now, if you're not familiar with what this series is about, pretty much I answer travel questions. If you've ever studied abroad, been abroad, etc., and then when you come back to your home country, these are the questions that your friends and family always ask you. Now, each episode I'm going to address one of these questions based off my own personal experience and kind of what I've gone through. So, let's get started. Okay, so this is episode 2. If you didn't watch episode 1, then I'll toss a link somewhere around and you can click to watch episode 1. But episode 2, this one is actually going to be like a 2-part series. First, it's going to be my perspective while living in China, and then now my perspective of being back home. And let me kind of tell you what I mean by this. Today's question is culture shock. Yeah, culture shock. When I'm in China, what's the biggest culture shock that I've ever faced? I get this question all the time, and honestly, this is kind of a hard question for me to answer, to be honest. Simply because when I go to another country or kind of experience a new culture, I go head first. You know, I dive in the deep end. Like, I'm not one of those people who go to a foreign land and like, oh gosh, I need some Starbucks or I need some McDonald's. Like, I try to avoid Western food, Western comfort as much as possible. Like, I'm just like, let me go dive in. So it's kind of hard, and then also I just kind of think I'm like open-minded and like I'm very embracing of new cultures. But before filming this video, I did kind of think of 2 things that I'd like to talk about. So the first one, and actually I'm not quite sure if this is like a China Asian thing or this is just in general big city living. So where I'm from here in America, I'm in the 2nd largest city of Indiana, but I mean, we're no New York or Los Angeles. We're still a really small city. But where I was in China, I lived in an area that was the population of New York. So a lot of people, millions of people, all in like a confined area. So that's different for me. That was very different for me. Like, there'd be times where I'm taking public transportation, like getting ready to get on a bus, and the bus is packed, like hardcore packed, where you're like, excuse me, like stepping over people. But like I'd see this bus and like, oh, okay, excuse me, but they're just like pushing, like, no, get out of my way. Just like getting right into it. Like, there'll be old ladies who, like, when I'd hesitate to like get on the bus, like, is there even enough room for me? Like, shove me out the way and get right in. Or there'll be times where I'll be in a line for a store, getting ready to check out, buy something, and the line moves forward and I'm just on my phone, and there'll be like a little space right in front of me. If I don't take that step, the person behind me will be like, excuse me, just like step right in front of me. I'm like, what? Like, so this is kind of just like something that just, they're always on the go. Like, if you're slow, you're on my way, move. Like, I got things to do, I got places to be. So they just keep going. And where I'm from in America, I definitely don't experience this. But again, I don't know if this is really like a China thing or like just a big city thing. So maybe this is like a New York, Los Angeles, maybe they have similar experiences, but I don't know, that took me a little bit to get used to. Number 2, the second culture shock that I've faced. This one's kind of funny. Like, I've told my friends and family about this. It's funny, but it's true. And what this is that there's no ice, or really hard to find ice in China. So, you know, being a Western, and maybe this will even seem weird to you, but like, we're just so used to cold drinks. Like, just out of, like, if I go to a restaurant and like, oh, just take a Coke. You don't need to ask for the Coke to be cold. It just comes out cold. While in China, that's not the case. I remember times where we'd go to like a restaurant, like a hot summer day, just like sweating, like, oh, like a glass of water, come out, they'll bring you the water and it's like boiling hot, like ready for tea, and we're like, I don't want this, like cold water. They bring you another thing and it's room temperature. You're like, what the heck? Like, no, like cold ice water. Like, no ice. Like, they don't have ice. And this was like early in China, my time in China, before I could speak any Chinese. So I couldn't understand them, they couldn't understand me, and there's like no ice. We're like, okay, maybe this is weird, maybe their ice machine is broken or something. But then just the longer I've lived there, I just kind of started developing a pattern of going places and no ice or room temperature drinks when I'd ask for cold. We're like, what's going on? And then a funny story is me and one of my friends there, he's from Mexico, and then a Chinese coworker, we had like a bro day, and we went to a spa. We're chilling in a hot tub, and I prepared beers. You can bring outside drinks to the spa, so I had some nice ice cold, you know, the condensation, the crisp beers, you know, very good. You got to drink beer cold. So we're in the hot tub, we're drinking the beers, just chatting, and then I look over at my Chinese coworker and I see he's putting the beer in the hot tub, and you're kind of like, what are you doing, man? Like, are you trying to make the bottle float? And he's like, no, the beer is too cold for me. You're like, what? Like, I don't think I've ever heard this sentence in my life. The beer is too cold. Like, you're supposed to drink beer cold, but no, in China they just don't really do cold drinks. Even in like bigger cities like Beijing, Shanghai, where I've traveled, where they're used to more foreigners, there's still not a lot of cold drinks. Now, granted, there are some places that will do cold drinks. You know, like the Western restaurants, Starbucks, McDonald's, you can get ice in those drinks. And also in Beijing and Shanghai, since they are used to foreigners, like there are select restaurants that will carry ice and all that, but it's not every restaurant. My time spent in China, I kind of started to figure out why they don't do cold drinks, don't do ice, and this really kind of comes down to the Chinese traditional medicine. And pretty much what this is they believe cold is bad for you. It makes you sick, it hinders the recovery process. So if you're sick, it's like, don't drink cold water. It's always like, drink hot water, or like here, they'll like times where I was sick, they'd give me hot water, like boiling hot water, like drink this. Like, they don't like the cold in your system. If you've had like a serious injury, or you've just given birth, so after post-pregnancy, they tell you not to take a shower, and they say like don't take a shower for I think like about a month, because they don't want the water to absorb into your skin and turn cold, because that will hinder your body. That'll make you more sick. It'll slow down the recovery process. Now, unfortunately, I never really learned why they think that cold is so bad for you, but they think it is bad. So if you do know why they think cold is bad, let me know in the comments, because I'm actually really curious about that. And when I googled it, it kind of gave me a few different answers. Okay, so that wraps up episode 2 of Travel Questions. But now, if you remember at the beginning of this video, I said this episode is going to be kind of a 2-part series, and I'm going to address reverse culture shock next week. So I told you my culture shock in China, but now I'm back in America. How are things different for me now that I'm back? Well, stay tuned to the next episode. Again, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, it would mean a lot if you touch the like button, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment. I'm curious if you've ever traveled abroad and faced your own culture shock. Anyway, thanks again guys, and I will see you next week. Goodbye.